All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. Hello, guys. This is Shadyology, and today I got a guest. I don't normally do guests, but today I got a special guest, and she's a really good friend on Twitter, and we've done some streams together, and you'll see her a lot on with Snowdub. What's channel? What's the show you do with Snowdub mostly? What's it called?
The Tuck and Roll show. Mostly the
Tuck and
Tuck and
Roll.
Roll.
Yeah, I'm talking. I should know. You know why? Because I still have the other show that they used to do. I can't mention it in my head.
They had a lot of shows that the Snowdubs had a lot of great segments and great people come and go. So I would say that it's fair to forget because he has a lot of different shows and different people on it. So
Well, I just got a forgetful brain. Period. I forget my own name half the time. You know? I have so many personalities that people will be like, "What's your name?" I'm like, I swear to God, people don't realize this, but my name, like Shadyology, because I've even changed my name several times, and sometimes I forget at the end to give myself a plug because I'll forget. And some people say, "What's your channel about?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, what is it about?" Oh yeah,
right, crap. What do I do over there? What the heck? Yeah, no, I hear you.
I'm just random. That's what I do. But yeah, so she's here to talk with me. We're going to talk about some funny stuff, some fun stuff, and some serious stuff, guys. That's how I do here. And I really want to ask you something. It's been weighing down on me. I go to bed and that's all I could think about is Saggy Melonz.
That's the worst thing to think about when you go to bed.
well, you don't necessarily want to think of Saggy Melonz. Like why Saggy? Why not Perky Melons or
right? I mean, Saggy.
Or perky oranges. I don't know. Why Saggy Melonz?
Why Saggy Melonz? Okay, so I want to give you like this awesome, like crazy story of the origins of Saggy Melonz, but it was simply just a random.
You don't have one, make one up. I'm okay with that too.
So I was a superhero. My super ability was knocking out villains with my Saggy Melonz. But no.
Nice.
So the real story is I play a lot. I'm a gamer, so I play a lot of games, and this one game I play is Apex Legends. I play that with just I started off playing that game actively with just two people, and that was my friend Riaki and Wrinkle Twinkie. That was the other guy's name, and his name was Wrinkle Twinkie. So that was in that, and I went by a different name. So one day Wrinkle Twinkie got his account suspended because he decided to act toxic and message somebody and got suspended off of PlayStation for a little bit. So he had to make an alt account, and he also named it Wrinkle Twinkie, but like kind of mixed the letters around so he could still use that name. But because he had to start a new account, the game he was playing, it was too easy for him because now he's getting in the new lobbies with the new players, so he's just smoking them, and he was getting bored because he's like, I'm just every game I'm winning, I just want to play like with you guys. So I created an alt account to help him get there faster, and I created Saggy Melonz because I thought it'd be funny because you have Wrinkle Twinkie and then Saggy Melonz, and then that just became my new persona when I decided to rebrand.
You had me at Wrinkle Twinkie, by the way. You had me at Wrinkle Twinkie.
He's now rebranded himself. He is no longer the Rinky Twinkie. He is now Dixie Rex. That is his name. My Dixie Rex. It's
my Dixie Rex.
Yes,
and
my
you
Dixie.
Still continue at Saggy Melonz.
Yes, I'm staying with Saggy Melonz for probably a while.
That's fine. That's cool. That's awesome. No, it's funny because at first I wasn't sure if it was Saggy or supposed to be pretty. Like I was like, how some people just have weird names and just like you don't want to be offending people, so you just like, is her name Saggy? And I just pronounced Saggy. And is it supposed to be Melonese? Is she Spanish?
Right. Got that foreign name.
Melonese. I was like, it's just like some kind of like weird like composite of their name that she created. So I just don't. I don't want to say Saggy. Maybe it's Saggy Melonese, and I'm like, hey, Saggy Melonz, and now all of a sudden you're offended. And we're living in a world of offense.
Right. And it's funny because I have, believe it or not, Shani, believe it or not, I've had men offended by my name. They've literally asked me, why did you pick such an unflattering name for a woman? I'm sitting there like, you realize how reverse offense that is? Like, you're asking a woman why she chose a name for herself, but okay.
So let's see who we have in the chat right now. So we got Carl Ward. How's it going? Panda Power. Thanks for joining, Mr. Record. How are you? And and we got 7 people watching so far. That's not such a bad turnout for the middle of the day. Um, so you're a gamer. You do Twitch streams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Since we're going on the whole sexist stuff, so what is your take on how Gamergate and maybe how female characters are portrayed in video games? Does that offend you at all, or do you get offended at the offense?
I would say I get offended at the offense because here's the thing, right? I mean, I get we're supposed to be, body positive, everyone. But here's the thing. I've come to accept and realize that, like, yeah, most video game characters are not. It's for the eye candy, right? It's supposed to be for like the audience. So if you see a woman who is overweight in a fighting game, that wouldn't make sense. Let's be realistic. That's not going to make sense. She has to have a fighter's body. She has to work out. If she's a fighter, that's what you expect. So when people
hold on. I'm just gonna play a little devil's advocate here, just because I agree with you, but I like playing devil's advocate. So what I'm going to say is, but have been fighting games with fat guys. So I'm just like I'm going to throw a little challenge in there and say, why is that
right.
why is that a problem? We have what's his name? The guy from Street Fighter, E Honda, is a nice, big fat guy.
Okay, but
wrestler.
E Honda is what? What's his fighting style? He's a sumo wrestler.
Sumo
wrestlers are big,
true.
So that would make sense. If you had a female sumo wrestler, which I don't think I'm sure they exist, but I've never seen a female sumo wrestler. But like I said, but that's what I mean. Having a large man, they're usually sumo wrestlers, or that's what it is. But you don't see women fighters as sumo wrestlers. You just don't. Because first of all, women they have health issues when they get bigger, so they wouldn't do the process. Because being a sumo wrestler, believe it or not, sumo wrestlers are very healthy. They might be they might look fat, but they're extremely happy. Right, they're strategically big and they're very healthy. So but for a woman, that could cause a lot of complications, being a certain size and things. But yeah, I think overall, when it comes to being offended over how women are portrayed in video games, it's like, it's a video game. It's not real. It's fictional. It's meant to be like, listen, there are so many men who play as female characters for the sheer fact that they just don't want to look at a male character running around. They like to be the female bouncing around.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
My brother's one of those guys. My brother's exactly like that. He likes choosing the female character specifically because it's more fun for him. I told, it's interesting though, isn't it, that men could lose themselves in a female character, and yet we're being taught now that you have to represent your gender 100%. You know what I mean? Like you can't have a female play the role of a male, or a male play the role of a female, and in our society now, it's like, meanwhile we have gamers who are just, hey, I'm a girl today and I'm a guy tomorrow and I'll be an elf the next week.
Right. I've seen men play better female characters on video games than females do, and it's literally the most embarrassing thing for a woman to be like.
But I guess what a lot of people are like, do we need the bouncy boobs? Like, do we need the extra bouncy boobs for, like, say, Chun-Li, for example?
You mean jiggle mechanics?
Yeah. Do we need the jiggle mechanics?
Yeah. Yes, we need.
I need it, but I'm a guy. But like, does women do it?
Well, here's the funny thing. Have you ever heard of Overwatch, Shaney?
Yes.
Okay, so Overwatch is the only game I have ever played that has jiggle mechanics for one character, and it's a male.
Oh, really?
It is a male character that has jiggle mechanics. Yeah, no, I don't know if it was done purposely, but yeah, like we had this talk when I used to be really big to Overwatch, and only one character has jiggle mechanics, and that's Roadhog. He's this big, huge dude, and he has booby jiggle mechanics. No other character in the game has it, but just Roadhog.
But what was jiggling on him? That's the question.
His boobs and his belly, everything jiggles. Yeah,
I was thinking something else. I thought it was his package was jiggling or something.
No, he is the only one who has legit breasts that jiggle in the game,
Oh,
and
okay.
and there's a plenty of women there, but he's the only one that has actual jiggle mechanics, and it's the
That's
funniest thing when
actually
you
funny.
realize that. So yeah, men can have jiggle mechanics too, by the way. Just throwing that out
But,
there.
but normal women have jiggle, like, but women in general have jiggle mechanics. Like, are we going to stop women from actually having real jiggle mechanics?
I mean,
I mean,
so
in real
here's the thing.
life,
Well, here's the thing. It's not. I guess I would say me playing devil's advocate now. It's not the fact that the boobies jiggle, right, in the games. It's how much unrealistically they jiggle just for the fact of jiggling. Because, like, despite my name being Saggy Melonz, I have a big chest. So my jiggle mechanics, if I have a bra on, they're not jiggling as much as like in Dead or Alive. You know, my breasts are pretty much in place, but you will have the unrealistic jiggling of the boobies because
yeah.
boobs. And listen, I'm a woman. Women can appreciate other breasts. I don't know what the big deal is. We admire breasts more than men admire breasts. Men admire breasts in sexual way. Women admire breasts in a non-sexual way. Like we can appreciate a nice chest and a nice firm bum, okay? But why are we attacking these works of art? Because they are works of art. And it's like, sorry, I'm gonna 100% stand with the developers who decided to make a game cater to having big boobies and jiggling. Like this it's not just for men. There are women who enjoy it too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of time, I think originally though, I think they looked at the demographics, which most gamers or companies do. Whether it doesn't matter what it is, right? You always look at the demographics,
Right.
and you want to cater to that demographic. And so you're like, well, who plays these games most of the time? And yes, there are women that play it, but the majority of the demographics is probably teenage boys, right? And they're like, well, what do teenage boys like? You know, and then they see what are they watching, and they're watching this and anime and all of a sudden, so like, oh, let's put some jiggle mechanics. They'll love it, you know. Especially preteen boys who are just going through puberty, who don't really know much about their affections. They're like, something's going on below my belt when I'm looking at Chung Li. What's going on?
Those thighs, you're so thick. Those thick thighs. What's going on here? Oh my god, my pants are getting small.
Yeah, something's poking out my zipper. What's going on? I'm scared. My pimple's about to burst.
Right, and that's true because I liked fighting games, but I was never like huge in fighting games. A lot of girl gamers, at least at my age, I would say, we were into shooters. Shooters were our thing. Like there's females who play fighting games. I'm not saying there's not, but majority of the fighting games are for the dudes because like it's not because women don't like fighting games. Like I like the fighting games. I just suck at them.
My
They're
wife
too
loves it too.
yeah, combos and stuff is hard for me. I like to shoot things. So well, most women we just like to you know.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's getting more prevalent. Like I think that is becoming like more girls are getting into different types of games, which I think that's a good thing too. Like I think it's become better or more common. But at the same time, I do think that like you said, the general, and you know, it's funny because we don't talk about the opposite, right? It's like there's never been a romantic novel gate, right? Where we I once looked at did a study.
Shady, don't start a romantic novel gate, please.
But you know where I'm headed, right? You get where I'm headed, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the majority of people, hey Snow, how's it going, man? Welcome to the chat, my friend. If you look at because I did a study about because I was hearing about how women complained about how like in Hollywood were complaining there's not enough female writers, female comedic writers, and I'm like, well, if you look at the genres, even in novels, right? Who reads the majority of novels, right? Females, women, little teenage girls, and women make up the majority of readers. And if you look at the highest grossing market is the romantic novel market, and that is dominated by women. Like that's not even close. Like there's like one or two decent dudes who write romantic novels, and then the majority is just women dominating it, right? And then you look at the covers. And while everyone's so obsessed about the covers of video games or a female portrayal, in these romantic novels, you see a bear. Remember, you used to see that masculine, manly, robust. They don't even give the dude a face. they have like the dude's neck sticking out of the always like because they don't want to even give the guy a face. Like sometimes they will. Sometimes they'll have a hot dude, but majority of the time it's like you'll see like a faceless guy because they want the girl reader or female to fantasize and insert face of guy you like here, right? That's sort of what they want to do. It's not meant to be offensive, but it's more like, use your imagination and put the dude here. Which, if you wanted to take offense, you'd be like, so what are we, just a bunch of bare chests glistening in the wind? Like, is that all men are? But we don't see that there is obviously, like, there is no romantic novel gate about how men are portrayed in this thing.
Well, that's because no, I'm not saying men don't care much about their looks, because like as you get older, you're not as young as you were. So you're not, maybe you were that hot kid, maybe that chunky kid, and then the chunky kid grows up to be a hot kid. You never know. So men don't. I would say, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean I can't speak for men because I'm a woman, obviously. But
please do.
Men don't care about those things as deeply as far as personality. Like they care about their looks, but not as much as women do. Because
no, not as much as women do, but it is changing too. I see a lot of like guys who are now becoming a lot more, especially since the invent of Instagram and Facebook and social media. I know a lot of like younger guys, like my cousins and stuff like that are young, that they're just consistently 24 hours in the mirror, just like almost like worse than women, like fiddling with their eyebrows. Like when I was a kid, I didn't give a crap about tweezing my eyebrows. And I have a cousin who's just like every 5 seconds, he's like, doink, 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 and penciling them in. Like, dude, we never thought of penciling an eyebrow. And I was like, what? As a guy penciling in my own eyebrow? What kind of nonsense is this? And he's doing it. I'm like, things are changing, man. I think social media is causing men to be a little more dainty, I guess we would say.
Well, I always said men always have naturally nice, like your eyebrows are nice naturally, and you don't do anything to them. They're naturally nice.
Oh, stop.
Right, but you do. You have naturally, and most men do. They have naturally nice eyebrows. But like, I don't think it's wrong or weird. Like, I remember, it's funny because my uncle, I get my eyebrows threaded, and my uncle, he has thick eyebrows. He actually, unfortunately, doesn't have the nice natural eyebrows because we're ethnic, so we have a lot of hair that grows. So, one day when I went to the mall with him, I was like, I'm gonna get my eyebrows threaded. He said, you know what? I want to get my eyebrows threaded too. So he got his eyebrows threaded. Now his girlfriend was actually mad at him and gave him a hard time. Like, why you get your eyebrows threaded? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with self-grooming. Like, it's not like, yeah, I would say doing the whole pencil thing. So if that's a little much, all men need is just if you have a unibrow, get rid of it. That's fine. If you have a little hair, you're wanting to have naturally nice, have your eyebrows done nice. I would say a little much.
Your mic is going in and out. Is that? I don't know what's going on. I'm having every other word is like. Can you hear that? Like, is that?
Hear me, shape, I don't.
I hear you loud and clear. I agree with what you're saying, but the funny part is that my cousin, he has nice eyebrows too, and I was like, why are you? It's like he would shape the outside of it. Like, I don't know. I don't know what his deal is. I don't get it.
Maybe he just doesn't like his eyebrows. I don't know.
But you're seeing it more and more. Is all I'm saying in men, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Turn down my feed. Is that the problem? Is that my?
Well, I think I hear me in your background.
Oh, you do? All right. That's my problem. Sorry. That's all me. That's all me. Yeah, no, I think that men and women are becoming, I think purposefully done, because you're seeing this whole movement towards men are women and women are just like men. There's no difference between the two genders and that kind of nonsense going on, which it's kind of funny because why do we want to be the same as everybody else? It's, why can't we just say women are good at this and better at that and men are better at this? But now we have to believe that we're all the same no matter what we do. Like it's insane that stuff is going on, that women are convinced that, we're just as strong as men. That's not true. You're not as strong as men. Some might be, but on the majority it's not the truth. But that's a whole different situation. But
it's biologically speaking, men have naturally more testosterone than women. Some women have some more testosterone than they have estrogen. So like I think it's not really that. It's like it is possible for women to do what men can do. It is possible, but that's an individual thing. You know, that's like if I wanted to be stronger than a man, I would work out more, get more muscle. I'd become a bodybuilder. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like I think the issue is like it's the way that that people are saying it, right? Because when the way you said it, it makes sense. You know, there are things that men are will excel in that women don't, and that's because biologically we are built differently. But it's
Yeah.
still what they should be saying is you don't say women can't do it because we can. We just have to work for it. We can do it. It's just biologically speaking, yeah, the way you say it. Most men are built to be physically more stronger than women, but can women become as strong as men? We sure can. But, you know, it is like I said, you can't as it is stands biologically when you were born, male or female, when you're growing up, there is a difference. It just depends on if women want to take that route to do what men can do.
Well, I mean, I think most people talk about there are extreme cases. Like, I mean, there are examples of like women who work extremely hard to become strong, and men, and that's the thing. Like that you're right. Women can be strong as if they work hard and become. But we're taking the average man and the average woman from birth. No, neither of them work hard. Neither of them just they do nothing but eat Twinkies and watch porn 24 hours a day. I don't know. Just,
Women like porn too, by the way.
of course, women
Lots of
love porn.
porn.
They're mostly in porn, so that's fine. You have to love it at some point. But we have these two, and you have them fight. The majority of the time, the man is going to win. I mean, if it's a fight, basically in a ring, but like you said, there's dynamics to any fight. Even if a woman and men fought, like women could use other. This is what gets me. Okay, this is where a good segue that we're actually talking about this, because whenever we look at strong women in Hollywood, right, they always assume that the woman always has to be strong physically. And there's another form of strength, which is you could be cunning. Like you could like we ever heard that old story of David versus Goliath, and like David beat Goliath because he took a rock and just shot it between Goliath's head, right? You know what I mean? Like he beat him with cunning. He didn't beat him with brute force. And that's a form of strength that Hollywood seems to ignore. Like women don't have to always prevail and using brute strength, by tossing a guy around like he's a rag doll. That's not necessarily always a reality. But women can outthink a person and a lot of times do. Women are very cunning. And so men are cunning too. But I'm saying, like, there are other means of strength that I feel doesn't get explored and always seems to be like as if that's like a cliche, or I don't know. But it's like women have to be beating guys up constantly in the movies in order to prove strength. What do you think on that?
I would say, yeah. I remember watching a video on YouTube about this very thing where they were explaining how like it's very unrealistic for women who, because let's be real, when you see women on TV, right? Number one, take in consideration they look thin, right? But in person, they're actually a lot thinner. The camera does add a few pounds, so they're actually a lot tinier than you see them on the screen. Even with men, like with men, they might look big and stuff, but you meet them, they're a little bit smaller because the camera does give them more physique. Now, perfect example of what you're talking about, Scarlett Johansson, as Black Widow. Now, I would say her portrayal of a woman who's a strong person, that's probably more of what you're going on, because if you see her in fight scenes, she's not fighting them with just brute strength. She has technique. She has a martial arts. She uses martial arts, which could be used by any woman of any size, which actually does help her fight because she's trained. She's a trained soldier. She's a mercenary, assassin, as you will. So her power, like her being a woman who can kick butt, that is more realistic, because if you see and watch her move, she's moving like a martial artist. Now you will have some characters in Hollywood that they're depicted with as women kicking butt, and like they'll be fighting. It's like it doesn't make sense. How did you pick up that man who's double your size and easily flip him over? That doesn't make sense. But it is they will portray that to make women seem like, this, she's a badass woman and she's cool. When you look at it realistically, that's not how it would work. So
But
yeah.
even I don't even mind it not being realistic all the time. By the way, Carl Ward says the song Black Velvet band pretty much much desk and describes what you're talking about. The song Black Velvet. Are we talking about the Elena Miles Black Velvet song? Because that's she's a Canadian. That's why I mentioned her. I don't mind. I don't even mind the fictional aspect of a woman once in a while beating up a guy. It's fine. It could happen. It's funny. We could. That's what movies are for suspending belief, right? We don't have to
Right.
always regulate ourselves by what is right. Like, I mean, what is a hammer isn't going to make you fly in real life either. But yet
Right.
Thor seems to have and we don't always have to go by the strict rules of science. But we also have to understand that while we do have strong female superhero characters like She-Hulk or whatever, we also, if we're going to do that, the thing that Hollywood doesn't understand is that we also have to create weaknesses in other ways to overcome that. Like Superman has to have a weakness to make him an interesting character, whereas Hollywood just doesn't give a shit. It's like women are not only they're stronger, they're smarter, they're more liked. They can't be wrong in any situation. It's like they overcompensate to the point where it's like a character is no longer even fun anymore.
Right.
Like I've always liked the Jackie Chan form of fight sequences where you have, and I think that works well for women. If you were to have Jackie Chan, how he's always running away, but still somehow uses his cunning and maneuverability to actually win against multiple fighters and things which he shouldn't win. I always thought, why don't they do that with women? Have a girl like Jackie. Like, first of all, no one could be Jackie Chan, but still,
right.
You can find a parkour girl that can do some of that stuff, or somebody. There's got to be someone out there. Why not have that? I would think that's far more fun and interesting than Mulan using her. Did you see the movie Mulan?
I did see the movie Mulan.
No, the latest one, not the earlier one.
The live action, yeah.
Yeah, like her using chi, that like just an unexplainable power that I'm just was born with, and then at the end, even if you're a girl watching that, I kept thinking, if you're an average woman looking at that, going, how do I feel empowered? You just told me that I have to be special to beat guys. That's not what Mulan originally was. She was just a girl who was regular, who worked hard, who used her strengths and her cunning to beat, to get to where she was. Now you're telling girls now you can only win if you're a superhero with superhero powers.
Well, chi is part of a martial arts thing. That was understandable to me because I understand a lot of Asian culture. Chi is still something they talk about in a lot of martial arts. I'm trying to think which martial arts, but like Tai Chi.
But chi is learned. Chi is not something that is bestowed.
Well, they say that everyone has chi. You just have to tap into it. It's a very very interesting spiritual type thing. Chia pet.
Chia.
But that's funny too. You brought up like women's weaknesses because they change. You're big. I saw your Wonder Woman videos, which by the way I loved. If you guys are new here, Carl, please subscribe to Shaney. He has some hilarious videos. I know Carl. Please subscribe to him. He's so funny. He does a lot of videos, and he did check out his Wonder Woman 84 videos. They were great. But yeah, speaking of so you're a fan of Wonder Woman. You do remember her original weakness that we've never seen and probably won't see because it's 2021. You can't show one of Wonder Woman's weaknesses, which is being tied up by a man. You can't have
they used that a lot in the old 70s show. She was tied up a lot in the old 70s and 80s show.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's bondage. She was also invented by a guy who was into you know the history of Wonder Woman, right?
Mm-hmm,
who invented her and like there's that whole element that I think a lot of Wonder Woman supporters kind of want to forget. Like let's ignore DC just wants to take that part of Wonder Woman and just
you can't do that in 2021. You can't do that in 2021 because here's the thing: even if it's explained to people, because there are people like you said, we know Wonder Woman's history, her true origin, her weaknesses.
Yeah.
You can't do that in 2021 because if you do it, it's gonna come with some backlash, and then people will be like, "But this is what the original creator." Well, it was sexist. You can't do that.
Well, yeah. Well, it was also she was also created in the 1940s, and it's was a completely different time, and the guy who created that, I always think to the guy who created like the lasso, because he was also created the isn't he also the one who created the lie detector test? Who created who invented the lasso? He invented the lie detector test, wasn't
Oh
he?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. And she was named after his mistress. If you go to the history of Wonder Woman, it's kind of interesting.
It's very
Um,
cringy, but it's pretty interesting.
it
Yeah.
is. It legitimately is very cringy. But whatever it gives, but see, that's another thing. We don't take things in context. It's like we look at her and we go, okay, is it cringy how she was started? Yes, but does it matter how she was started? Because all that matters now is what she stands for today and
Right.
what she means to women and girls today. So regardless of whether she was created for whatever reason, at this moment, that's not what happened, right? So sometimes I've always said that sometimes negative things could happen, good things. Sorry, bad people could create good things, and good people could create bad things, and just that's just how the world is. Sometimes good intentions don't always mean good outcomes, and sometimes we get surprised with negative things that just turned out good. And I think that was one of those. And there's like, I could turn the camera around. I could show you a whole Wonder Woman shelf that my wife she is Wonder Woman. Like she just loves everything Wonder Woman. And she hated Wonder Woman 1984. But she loved, and she wept in the theater during the first one. Like I cried along with her because I know how much it meant to her. And I watched her crying at that sequence when she, that scene when she put the shield in no man's land. That scene almost teared me up, and because I know how much it meant to her. Watching her watch that, and it meant something to me. And I actually teared up watching that scene and watching 1984, going, what the heck? What did they do to this character? And then
Yeah.
Patty Jenkins did it to herself. I'm like, what did you do, Patty? I was gonna hand the reins to the DC universe to her until then. I'm like, what did you do? But
Yeah.
I'm like, I had so much hope and faith. But anyway, these characters, though, and that's the thing. Context means nothing to these people anymore, and that's another thing about the world. The context seems to be. Sheeny, a serial killer can operate a cab. Anyone need a lift? Well, it's funny
Shady
because a
for
lot of
president
people,
2022.
everyone feels like, Hitler this and Hitler that. Hey, Hitler invented didn't he help invent the Volkswagen Beetle, right? Which was a poor man's car, which actually did a lot of goods for a lot of poor people who couldn't afford a car.
Yeah, a
And I'm not
lot of
saying,
the great things we have today stemmed from some bad things in history. It's unfortunate, but it's true because,
yeah,
they're bad people, but everybody's yin and yang. You are a bad person, but you can create good things. It's like a very weird concept when you think about it. So
it
it's
really
like if
is.
people really looked at the history behind all the things that we love, you're gonna find some dark lore.
Well, look at like even in Canada. Just look at like Canadians. Like Canadians, we look at Canadians, like Canadian Canada. Our history, because we've never had like our country started. We're young, right? Relatively young. So when we talk about when we were British rule, we were one way. But then when we were our own entity, our own Canadian thing, we were a different way. But when we never really had, as Canada being Canada, we've never had. I don't think we had slavery, but we did have. Well, when we were British rule, we did, but not while we were Canada. And we were one of the first country. We had a country that actually helped the Underground Railroad and helped slaves escape. But that doesn't mean there was no racism in Canada, because the way we treated the natives was appalling. It was disgusting. And our railroad, which helped both countries, the United States and Canada, actually grow, the most horrendous stuff, which the railroad in itself grew both nations, right? The railroads. But the amount of horrible shit that was done to the people working on the railroads, no one talks about or mentions or anything. But that stuff is bad, and not just. And it wasn't just one. There's so many different. Like the Irish worked on it, the Chinese worked on it. There was so many. Every race pretty much who came over was here. You want a job? Here, go to the mines or go to the go kill yourself on the railroad. for pennies on the dollar and
Yeah.
treated like crap. But look, we wouldn't have the nations we have today without those things. Those built our nations, right? The
Right.
trade roots. But anyway, but we can't tear down statues. The men who built the railroads were evil. But yeah, they might have been. But what they created was not, and how they did it was evil. But anyway, but
Right.
that's all. It's weird. It is. It's weird. It's a weird phenomenon. And then we look at history now, and the best intentions could sometimes lead to the horrible things, right? Because look at all. I think SJWs today, I don't think they're bad people. I don't think that they want bad things, but I think that they're just what they're creating is a situation where you're. I feel like the world is these SJWs and this political stuff of people trying to, I'm gonna be champion this cause and champion this and champion that. What you're doing is you're creating more division and you're creating more animosity than you're actually helping. Even though you think you're doing good, you're actually doing the opposite, right? And I think that's one of the things I think with feminism is like feminism at one point was helping women empower themselves, where now it's like the antagonistic tone of feminism today, where it seems anti-men as opposed to powerful women. It's like, why are you attacking guys who were supposed to be allies? Instead, you know what I mean? Who's going to listen to someone say,
Right.
"I'm powerful, you idiot"? Like the girls from my video, "I'm powerful, you idiot." Like who thinks?
Yes, that was great.
That's like, okay, I'm going to listen to that. No, that's I think. What do you think of that, though? The toxic nature of that.
So
being spread.
you're talking to a former SJW, by the way. I was an SJW.
So did I, by the way.
Right. I didn't understand what an SJW was. So I think it's fair to say at one point, I think everyone on the internet at one point was an SJW without realizing it, because there wasn't a label. There wasn't a term for it. And then once you realize what being an SJW is, you're just like, oh, okay. And here's the thing. I don't really think, knowing what I've done, being a former actual book definition of an SJW, I think that the term itself, that's what makes it really bad. Because think about it, you have SJWs and you have anti-SJWs. And anti-SJWs are literally just SJWs on the opposite side. SJWs is just people who want something, right? And they think, when you say social justice, you say, okay, we want justice for something. Well, the other side wants justice for something too, and that's why they're anti, because they want the different justice that you want. So both sides, as far as if you're SJW or anti-SJW, you're the same coin, different sides, right? That's all that is. But as far as like the feminist thing too, what you talk about, I say this all the time. You are 100% right. When I see feminism, when I think feminism, I think equality, right? Because that's what it was for. Having women treated better, having women treated the same, having women having the same rights as men, having the right to vote, having the right to make decisions, having a right to maybe possibly be a president someday, and having the same opportunities that men have, right? That was a good cause, good goal. Now, like you said, it's all about, oh, well, men are doing this and men are doing that. But what do you mean? What are men doing? Yes, there are some men out there who are sexist, right? Those are the ones that you should be mad at, not that every regular guy out there, like not you, not the people in the chat, not the people watching this video. I don't think that every man out there is looking at women like we're just sex objects, or so yeah, there some men? Sure. Why are we projecting that on all of them? You're gonna chase men away and then make them want to not like us.
Well, that's another thing too. It's like those things also aren't mutually exclusive. Like, you don't have to be, just because you're like, you could be a decent dude and still look at women not as sex objects, but you could still look at a woman sexually. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's another thing that I find we've turned this perversion of affection and attraction into a perversion, right? There's nothing wrong with being sexually attracted to someone and admitting that you're sexually attracted to someone. It's natural. We're all, it's the like for example, everyone says, oh, we got to avert the male gaze, but yet the same people will like talk about how Jason Momoa's chest was so glistening in like, but the female gaze is fine. Why is one better than the other? They're both the same. They both come from the same place, which is sexual attraction towards the other. and we've turned like sexual attraction into a perverted thing. There's nothing wrong with being sexually attracted to somebody. There's obviously when you use it, like to degrade somebody, that's a problem. You don't want to use it as to degrade that. That's all a person is sexually attractive, that there's more to them. That I do agree that there is a line that has to be drawn, right? Where you could go get carried away, where all we look at as a person is their sick, all we see are the saggy melons, but we don't see the soul between the melons. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Well, that's exactly what it is.
There's a heart in there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
There is a balance, and we don't have that balance. And I feel like we can't push away one and ignore the other. There has to be a balance where we take women and we say, listen, women are sexually attractive, and that's a strength and a weakness in itself, right? I mean, how many times have we seen, like you said, Scarlett Johansson? One of the Black Widow's major powers is her sexual attraction, is that she can manipulate guys easily by using, like her femininity to like blind guys, and then blindside them, when they least expect it. That's what her as a spy would do. But that is a strength as far as also not necessarily a weakness, but she uses it as a strength. Where I find a lot of women now, or these feminist types, they seem to be more, I guess, offended at that viewpoint. Like, you can't just thinking about women as sexual ways is like toxic, and we're other things completely. And then men are both too. Men are strong, and men are, like, a lot of women look at guys and say, "Oh, well, you're nothing but a salary." Right? We're just walking salaries to a lot of people, like a lot of women, and that's not all women. But some women look at guys as walking salaries, and we don't care. But as long as you're putting food on the table and I put me in finery, I'm okay. There's two sides of chauvinism, I guess. I don't know if it's chauvinism in a female way, but there's two sides to that story. And what do you think about the that stuff?
Well, women make money. Women make money.
Oh, she's left.
No,
she's
I'm
officially gone. What happened there, Saggy?
I'm here. I'm still here.
Let's read true facts that I knew she was too quiet. Something's going on.
No, I was here. Do you guys hear me?
True facts that Snow White from Disney was drawn to be the perfect representation of the ideal woman. Yeah, there is obviously. Saggy, are you there? Sorry, guys.
He can't hear me, but you guys can. Somebody in the chat. Saggy. Hold on, let me type.
She.
I can.
Something. Is it me? Is it my mic? What's going on here? I don't know. I don't know what happened. She's still there, guys. Can you guys hear her? Or is it just me on my end that I can't hear her?
Welcome to the Saggy Melonz show. I took over because he can't hear me now. So, Panda Power, how you doing?
I can hear myself. It's on my end. Sorry. Maybe there is a technical glitch. Hold on, let me just check the old macaroni here.
Sorry. Wait, we went from hearing myself in his background to him not hearing me at all.
I don't know what's going on.
The feminism turned him down. They canceled him. The feminists canceled.
You know
Shaney.
what? I think my speaker broke, so I may not be able to actually hear her going in.
Power off.
Let's do this again.
Yeah, he's gonna have to.
Feel free to talk amongst yourselves, guys.
I'm talking anyways. He doesn't even realize.
The Civil War was neither civil nor a war. Discuss.
Civil
connected.
All right, can you speak for a second? Do you remember that? Civil War was neither civil nor a war. Discuss.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, no, I was laughing because I'm like, we went from hearing myself in your background to not hearing me at all. So.
Sorry, my speaker is like, I have to put an external speaker in order for my lapel mic to work, so that's why I have to drown.
We're gonna have to get you a headset.
I know. I gotta upgrade my tech.
Gonna have to get you those gamer girl headsets, the ones I have, the one with the little cat ears. We'll get you one.
I'm very, very jealous of your cat ears. Okay,
they're so cool.
I didn't want to bring it up. It's a very. I want to have cat ears.
They have ones for guys. They have ones. They're not pink. The guys ones. I wouldn't say the guys ones, but there's a different color you could choose. You can choose the pink ones, like the ones I have, or you get the black ones and the black ones. They're black, so it's unisex. But to answer your question,
I'm okay enough. I'm strong enough in my sexuality that I can go with pink. I'll deal with pink. I'm okay with pink.
The pink would accentuate your eyes. Yes. Tell your wife, be like, honey, I'm getting pink cat ears. She'd
She'd be
probably
fine
love
with
it.
that. She'd say she'd like put them on in bed.
That's hot. But yeah, to answer your question, oh wait, now I forgot it. I was getting to the point. And I was like, wait, I forgot. Oh no, I was gonna say, I remember. Um, so women make money off of their sexuality, right? So you have, OnlyFans. Before OnlyFans, there was this thing called Backpage for, actual sexual prostitution, I guess you could call it. But women have been making money off of their sexuality for generations. Brothels, strip clubs, they have been making money off of their bodies for a long time. Power to them. I will never ever shame a woman for using her body and her femininity to earn profit.
I
In
agree.
Hollywood, that's what they
That's something
do.
actually I agree 100%. I've always said, and I know people may not, but it's like it's the oldest profession for a reason. And as long as a woman is of age, I mean, she's not an underage girl, right? As long as she's of age, and she's like, and she chooses to do what she wants, I think it should have been legal because I hate the fact that it takes the power away from the pimps. Number one, so I think
Right.
it's your right to do what you want with your body. So I don't have a problem with that. I think the stigma has an issue, and I think it could be controlled in a way like you make it safer, where you have brothels, which were probably safer at the time because you had
Right.
things in a safe way, as opposed to now you can import girls from different countries and have them underground, the underground market, which is disgusting, right? Because
Right.
there's they import girls from other countries, young girls, and that I
Right.
what I learned about that, I was like mortified at how that shit still goes on.
Right.
Um,
But that's a difference between it being a choice and being forced, right? Now,
yeah,
feminine. Now, here's the thing. You know who has a problem with women making money using their bodies? Feminists. They do, because here's the thing. They'll talk about all these. You're objectifying women. Women objectify themselves. They make money off of it, right? That's their
yeah,
choice. You're now telling women they can't have a choice of putting themselves out there to earn money for the male gaze. If men want to spend money at strip clubs, that's their prerogative. If women want to be strippers, that's also their prerogative. They have a choice. If that's what women want to do, let them decide that. I personally, I would never make an OnlyFans, but that's my personal preference. Do I because I don't make an OnlyFans, am I going to tell somebody else? I have honestly, I'll be honest. I know some people in real life. Some of my friends have OnlyFans, right? I'm not going to shame them. That's what they want to do. If that's their body, that's their life. What
yeah.
does that affect me? So at the end of the day, it's like, you have fake feminism, which is I've said it too. It is fake feminism, 100%. Because if you want equality, which is what feminism was about, then fight for that. I will support you. But where I
Yeah.
don't support feminism is what it is now, which is just an anti-man hate group. That's what it became. Because once, like I
And
said,
they also hate women. They've hated what gets me is not even just, it's like, look, okay, for example, let's look at the characters that we've seen, right? The strong feminine characters we've seen lately. Okay, so we have Rey. Okay, look at what her features are. When I saw Rey from Star Wars, she got her hair tied back, so you can't really see that she's got long hair, but she's got boyish kind of clothes, I guess, like more masculine wearing clothes. She's not wearing, the typical female clothing and stuff like that. So it's almost like then you have Captain Marvel. She's wearing a pantsuit, like short hair and all this. Like they're trying to whatever was feminine and whatever women felt empowered before this, right? Because like you said, sexuality is at some level a strength for women. You take that away from them, and then you replace that with a lie, like you're not cunning and you're not strong and you're not vivacious and your beauty and that is not that is not your strength anymore. We're going to replace that with a falseness that you're strong, that you can out muscle a man, and that you're going to throw men around and beat them up. That kind, like, we replace one real strength with a fake strength, right? Your intelligence, your cunning, your sexuality, those things that are legitimate strengths. You take those away and then you replace it with a false strength, which is you can overpower supervillains with your amazing strength, physical strength and prowess. Which, okay, if you're a She-Hulk, fine, but if you're not, you
right.
can't be tossing men around all the time. And women don't. And I think women inside girls, especially, they know this. Like I've said with Mulan, Mulan was a thing where she was the original Mulan story. The was her overcoming her being maligned because she was a woman and she couldn't do these things, and she proved that she could because through hard work, dedication, and using her own intelligence, she overcame her weaknesses and proved that they could be overcome through dedication and hard work. And then they replaced it with your chi is you're superhuman, and you got it. She was a little kid, spinning around, spinning around and doing cartwheels in the air and doing all kinds of weird, magical stuff. So it's like, and all the girls are looking at that going, yay, I could never be that ever. So yay me, power me,
Right.
Sorry?
Right. Well, I was gonna say too, like one thing I would say I did like about Rey, because you brought up Rey from Star Wars. Um, I think that's kind of good that she wasn't like dolled up to be like, I'm a woman, hear me roar, and I also have force powers. I'll force choke the crap out of you. I think it was more like, I like seeing women portrayed in different elements, right? Like you can be a hot, like femme fatale, like Black Widow, or you could just be just an average everyday woman who just happens to have friggin' Jedi powers. It's a nice. I think that's like a fair balance because at the end of the day, again, when feminists come after at Hollywood for their casting or how they portray, it's like these women get the script. They get their
Mhm.
direction of how they're supposed to portray that specific character. Now they have a choice if they want to still do it or not. If they're
Yeah.
choosing to go with it, and if they're not having a problem with it, then we shouldn't have a problem with it. And that's the problem though, is because so many people complain about this entertainment stuff. Women are like this, or men are like this, or the story should be like that. That's when Hollywood's like, well, if there's so many people complaining, now we have to change it. And then when they change it, again, now you have more complaints. So it's really like it's one of those things where it's like the more we nitpick at everything in Hollywood, especially when it comes to women in the casting, it's just going to get worse. We're making it worse because now we have to complain about what females are supposed to be in what roles. It's like, they want to be true to the original work but also change
Yeah.
it so it's appropriate for today's generation. But when they do that, it's like raw, and then if they don't do that, it's like raw. So like, what are they supposed to do at this point? Start
Well,
casting
yeah, you're
average
right. You're
everyday
right.
people
Right
like
now,
me?
yeah, you're right. It's true because we do have a polarization now problem where it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? So it's like you
Mhm.
you can't make it too certain way, or suit another way, or too, because there's always gonna be a group that's gonna be offended by something, and so you're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. I think where Ray failed specifically, I don't really have much problem with the way Ray looked, to be honest, but I knew they were trying to see. On one hand, I knew they were trying to do a look at Ray and let's superimpose slightly Luke Skywalker into her face. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like she's Ray, but she's Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean? So that's sort of the trick they were trying to pull in Disney, where they weren't. See, my problem with Ray is that they didn't create Ray as her own character. They didn't design her as Ray. Ray as a character for herself. They tried to do a sneaky Ray. Think of Ray, but think of Luke Skywalker. That's why we're going to put Ray on a Tatooine-like planet, but we're not calling it Tatooine. We're gonna have, you know what I mean? All these, we're
Right.
gonna give her a little robot. We're gonna have all these little things, these little cues that they tried to get us to sort of replace Ray with, it was to replace Luke with Ray, and it was like a little sneaky job. And that's when I think they didn't do the character of Ray any justice because they didn't write her a character onto herself. They didn't. They're the ones who kept saying we're going to look at Luke Skywalker. You made us look at Luke Skywalker when we saw her. You didn't have to do that. You could have put her on a
Right.
completely different planet, completely different outfit, different wardrobe, different look, different everything. But they tried purposefully to superimpose like Luke onto her, which then hurts her character because she can't live up to. She'll never be able to live up to Luke. Luke has had 20 to 30 years of fan love. you know you're
Right.
not. It's unfair. It's unfair to do that to Ray. It's unfair to do that to any character. So what they should have done was have Luke as his thing, and Ray is her thing, and build Ray up to be her own thing. And the movie failed to do that. It never gave her proper motivations. She was on the planet and she wanted to see her parents, but she never actively looked for her parents. She sat there passively waiting instead of actively trying to be something or do something. The only time Ray left was when Finn came, grabbed her by the hand, and said, "Let's go." And then
Wait,
she
Shane.
didn't even want to go. She kept saying, "Get away, leave my hand." Right? She kept yelling to let go of his hand.
Right.
So
Well,
even
wait.
that was. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, Shani, you're missing you're missing the important part. You're really missing the important
Okay.
part. She had a love story. She had love stories. That was the whole thing. And that's what I say. That would be one thing because I did like the movies, but I'm not a hardcore Star Wars fan, so I could appreciate it. But when you're talking about, I'm like, yeah, they really. I was like looking back, I'm like, they really did make her like Luke Skywalker. But the difference is she had a love story because she was a girl. Can't have a girl lead without a love story, right?
But I think that the love story was thrown onto her. I don't think it was. I don't believe they ever planned on giving her a love story. I think the love story was the fans, like the Raylos especially, who were outwardly being just so belligerent about it because the Raylos were nuts. They were actually the Raylo fans were out were harassing the actors in their
Right.
families because they wanted that to go. But I think Disney was like, well, I think they want it, so let's just make it happen, even though it didn't make sense and it wasn't generic and it wasn't organic. I mean, I didn't feel the love story was organic. She went from hating him to liking him because she saw him shirtless. Like, okay.
Well, I thought it was an interesting concept because it was when I first watched it, my interpretation was just like, okay, they're trying to make this love story because you have a Sith and a Jedi, obviously enemies opposing faith, basically. And it was kind of reminded me of like a Romeo and Juliet type of storyline where you have two characters who aren't really meant to be together, but they fought to be together and they fought each other instead of having like the opposite families. Like they fought each other, but then
Yeah,
overall they realized like they fought each other because they cared about each other. I thought it was like a cool Romeo and Juliet thing. That's what I thought originally,
sure.
like that's
It would have been a much better Romeo and Juliet story had Romeo not massacred his own father.
right. But I mean, let's just be real. I
I
mean, that
think
was a whole
had Romeo massacred his own dad, created genocide murdered a bunch of kids in the school in a training facility. I think that Romeo and Juliet tragedy would have been a little different. So I'm just saying that story seemed awkward because you have this girl who seems to fight for what's right, and I can understand her trying to save him, but she knew what he was. She knew he was a murderer. She knew what he had done. It's kind of why I don't understand the love aspect. Like, why are you in love with somebody you don't know? You saw in a forced projection, and I can understand you to a certain level, understand that person and maybe relate to that person at a certain level, right? Maybe want to save that person, but to fall in love seemed extremely forced, and I didn't find that organic. And and I
right.
think that was my biggest problem with that sort of love story. I guess that's. I thought they were going to go with the Finn. I thought Finn was going to be her love interest.
I thought so
And then,
too. I was really pushing for that, but then like it makes sense because they always Hollywood has this habit of always trying to make the audience empathize or sympathize with the villain. They've always done that, trying to say and no matter what awful, disgusting deeds that character has done, they always find a way to give him redemption. Like look at Game of Thrones. I will say that was the most disappointing ending because they spent so long making Jamie Lannister the most
yeah,
disgusting, vile human being. And then he finally got a chance to redeem himself and make up for all the crap. And I was like, yes, I can. Because like they really wanted you to really sympathize with Jamie Lannister. And for the record, I did sympathize with him because I felt like he was put in a very messed up. His family upbringing was awful. But then at the end, when they're just like, nah, he's just gonna go back to being stupid, I was like, really? So you gave him a chance to be redeemed, and we're just like, nope, just throw that in the trash. We don't want to give him redemption anymore. Like, okay, all right. So, but they do. They wanted to make us feel sympathy for Kylo,
sympathy for the
because
devil.
right, sympathy for the devil. So and that sympathy was supposed to be coming from Rey. because she's a female and she's supposed to have a softer side and try to give him the chance to kind of redeem himself, and that's
Well,
I
I don't
understand.
think it was because she was a woman. I think, or girl. I think it was just again. I think it comes more to the Luke superimposing, right? Luke did the same to his father, right? Luke had everyone was saying he's an evil guy and all this stuff, and he was like, I could save him, and so I think it was more like, see how the parallel is. Rey is like Luke now, and Luke is now going to say Luke saved her father. Now she's going to save Kylo Ren. I think they were working on
Well,
parallels.
Luke didn't save his
Um,
father. Luke did not save his father. That
Well,
he
his soul. I
that
mean, his soul, not his. I don't think they meant save his life. I think they meant save his soul, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean
Sort of.
overall, yeah, I mean overall there was no real redemption for there was no real redemption for Anakin. He was beyond uh redemption even after he did at the end, come through, but it's like that little act he did was not enough to make up for everything he did. And the only reason why I cried at that last scene with Luke and he took off his father's mask and he saw his father for the first time. I only cried because I felt bad for Luke because
Yeah.
you didn't get to know him. You knew him as a monster, and just because he saved you, it didn't take away from all the things he did. Because like, put it this way: what if he saved him? Right? What if he saved Luke and he lived? What would have he had done at that point? Would there have been any redemption for Darth Vader? You know?
Well, then, yeah. Well, I mean, he tried. He had to die, right? There's no saving his. There is no saving him because he had to die. That was his ultimate punishment. There is
Right.
no actual redemption. It was just more like redemption in the eyes of Luke. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's more of what like a redemption in like the universe will never forgive Vader ever, right?
Right.
He's unforgivable. The things he's done. He's destroyed an entire planet of people. You can't. And
Right.
Kylo Ren destroyed countless planets. You know.
Right. There's no redemption. But that's why I was like, I get what you're saying though. And I do feel like, yeah, I do feel like it was a female thing though, because like if you say that they like, tried to make Luke basically Ray was a female Luke Skywalker. So but the way she did things was differently, and I think it did have to do with the fact that she was a woman because she fell in love. She was in love. Luke didn't have time to fall in love. I mean, his sister almost maybe counted a little bit, but
The
but he
incestuous
didn't have
love that he had with his sister.
right. He didn't have time to fall in love because he was a man. He had to be strong. He had to train. He had to focus on being on defeating the empire. So I think with Ray it was different because I've had this discussion with people all the time. Like they said that Ray was overpowered, and I said, well, she suffered from Avatar: The Last Airbender. You have this woman lead starts off strong, but then she has to go through emotions. And that's a big thing with women. Women have emotions. We're known as
Well, that's
emotional.
unfair because I mean that's unfair to Luke because Luke was an extremely emotional guy throughout the
But
entire. The
what
only
were his
time he lost his
emotions?
emotion was when he went through the training at the end in the Last Jedi, where he became like more. His emotions became more subdued because he was always remember the whole scene between him and his father in the Empire Strikes Back was of him trying to hold back his emotions because his emotions were constantly getting the better of him, and that's sort of like emotional in a different way. Like men's emotions come out in anger and vengeful, and that kind of emotion, where women's emotions tend to be, I guess, love and that kind of stuff. So it's like we both have problems with our emotions, men and women, but just we display them differently. Women display them more passively as far as love is concerned and compassion, whereas men display them in more aggressive and angry ways. And I think they're both equally emotional people, but just in the way we display them were different. Luke had to control his emotion towards the end. That was the whole thing. Control your emotion,
Right.
because your emotions will betray you, and that will lead you to the dark side. And that's why you see, that's why he lost. That's why he couldn't win. He couldn't beat Vader the second time. That's why he didn't finish his training. His emotions got the better of him. Whereas Ray never displayed any emotion at all. Period. I don't remember Ray even really displaying love. Like that's my whole problem with Ray. Is they put, I know what you mean. They put that sort of, I guess, trope of the female falling in love, but she never really. Did you really get a sense that she was in love with Kylo Ren up until the kiss? Like I didn't think she
I
was in love
did.
with him until the
I did.
She killed him 5 seconds. Like she killed him right before
No,
that. She slaughtered him in cold blood.
I knew. No, but here's the thing. When I first, what was it? What was the first one? It was The Last Jedi, I think, before the Rise of Skywalker. I think it was The Last Jedi where I think The Last Jedi was where Luke was done, right? I don't
Say
even
it
remember.
again?
I don't even remember which movie, but it was the one where Luke was done at the end. He just like bye
Oh
disappeared.
yeah, that was the Last Jedi.
Yeah, so The Last Jedi, I felt like when I watched The Last Jedi, I did sense that she had a thing for Kylo because like you could tell that she did have feelings for him in The Last Jedi. I did notice that.
And I will
But
say that her feelings for him, I thought was sort of sexist because I mean sexist towards her because I'm like, why is she falling in love with a guy for no reason? Like they didn't even give her a proper reason to fall in love with him. Like they didn't have a moment. They didn't have a moment where other than the his shirt being off, you know, and then talking and him manipulating her and lying to her. I didn't really see a moment where she felt like I could trust this guy because he proved that I could trust him. Like he just said a bunch of stuff like from a forced projection, but she didn't go for a coffee. She didn't get to know him. You know what I mean? They didn't have their little 80s montage where they dated. You know, there was none
well,
of that.
yeah. Well, he liked her first. That's the thing. She sensed I knew that he had a thing for her just because of how he would interact with her and how he would try to like reach out to her. I think that's when she started kind of noticing like there's good in him. He clearly has a thing for me. So I think that's probably why. But you're right. They could have shown that better. But this is the funny thing when you said about how men, they have emotions that it comes
Yeah.
out as rage. That's something we also have with Hollywood. Like women are just as, if not worse, when it comes to anger. Like when we're mad, all hell breaks loose, and that's why they always make jokes about how women. Oh, if a woman's mad, if a woman
Hell
was a
hath no
president,
there's yeah, women scorn. What's that saying about
hell
hell
hath
hath
no
no fury
fury
like a
like a
woman
woman
scorned?
scorned. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, but here's the thing: if you ever show a woman, I think that's why they made Ray as emotionless as possible. Because if you shown a woman having those type of emotions, oh, that you can't show women being angry. You can't show women being just as vengeful and hateful and just because now you're being sexist. That's like I said, it's a problem because women are by nature we're emotional and we wear our emotions on our sleeve a lot more easily. Like there are some men who are sensitive, but women we always have our emotions on our sleeve and we pop off like that. So it's like if
I
you
don't know, man.
show
I'm
that,
Portuguese and we're emotional people.
right. Well, Portuguese
And I
people
get
are, but
angry. I get. I'm like I. We get so emotional just by the nature. Testosterone leads to emotion, right? Anger and animosity. There's a lot of emotion. Like I said, we are all emotional beings. You just show. I think emotional beings. Like I just think we value one emotion over the other, or maybe we look differently at one emotion versus another emotion. Yeah, women can get angry, for sure. Yeah, I know women can get angry, but I think women are not. That's not likely for women to get angry all the time. I think women do get angry,
see,
and yeah, men also get emotional in the other way. Men cry. Men
right,
do cry. Men are emotional in the other ways too. Like
right.
men don't we just hold it better. We try not to. We suppress our emotion more than women suppress their emotion because we were taught to suppress. That's another
Right,
thing.
I was just gonna say you
Men,
guys were taught to it because if you cry, you get made fun of it. It's like that's just something that unfortunately is part of history, like we said earlier, that back in the days, men were supposed to be the strong ones and women were supposed to stay home and take care of the kids in the house, which again, that's not the worst thing because women, we give birth to a child, right? and
yeah,
and and we have to provide for our child, but we can't provide for our child and go. I mean, women nowadays, yes, they can go to work. There's ways of having a sitter or something, but back then, women, we carry the children. We're supposed to be taking it easy, be taking care of our bodies so we can birth a child, and then once the child's born, the mother, because we have the breast milk, before formulas and stuff were a huge thing,
yeah.
but we have our natural breast milk to feed our children, so we have to have our child with us all the time so we can provide food for our babies. So it made sense to have the woman stay home and take care of the child and take care of the home that the child's raised in, while the men go out to make the money to maintain the household. So they, because you have to pay rent, you have to pay the bills, you have to provide food and shelter for your child. So it made sense back then. Nowadays, like I said, it's not like when you look at history, like women had to do these roles. It's because back then that's what they had to do, because women couldn't go to work. That's why they had maternity leave, for crying out loud. You can't, work all the time and raise a kid like you can now, because there's help for you. But back then there wasn't that much help for you. So you had to stay
See,
home all the
I still think that I feel like at some point, our gender. I think we look at our gender roles so negatively today, and
right.
I'm not saying that we should be restricted to our gender roles. That's something that's obviously ludicrous. We can have freedoms within our gender roles. If we choose, but we shouldn't also look down upon people who choose to value gender roles, right? Because gender roles are there for a reason. I know, and I think, like you said, the rate, like breast milk, is still the better way of giving, to your kid. Like, yeah, you can give formula, but you need to be closer to your. There are obviously reasons why you give breast milk to your baby. It's better than formula, and it keeps you closer to your child and nurtures your child better. Men, we're utilitarian. Our bodies are designed for work, and that's why we tend to do that job, and we take that job with pride, right? Over
Right.
generations of time, men have said, "This is my role. I'm here to protect my family, and I'm here to protect my kid, and I'm here to work hard so that I could put food on the table for my family." And I relish that role. I love that role. I take that responsibility willingly, without a doubt. And it is a hard responsibility, and it's something that is it takes its toll on a lot of guys, but it's something that we've taken with pride. Women used to take their role with pride, and I think this is men's fault to an extent, where I think at some point men had this way of looking down on women's roles, where we would look at women and say, "Oh, that's women's work," or those little microaggressions over years. That's women's work, or we would say, like in the 50s and 60s, right, 40s and stuff like that, where we would take, where we would be like, I'm the man and I make all the rules, that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Generations of that, where women feel sort of inferior and they feel like their role isn't as valued. And I think that sort of led to sort of maybe women started rejecting their roles a little more. And so I think
Right.
we can both men have to take some responsibility for that. I think, anyway.
I agree, because it's true. Like, my dad is very old school, so whenever I'm dating a guy, he'll first thing be like, ask, well, what does he do for work? And then he'll be like, well, why isn't your man taking care of you? Why isn't he taking you out and doing these things? Because he's old fashioned. But he also understands, like, women. It's like I said, it's a choice. It's a choice at the end of the day. If a woman wants to choose to go out to work, then she should be allowed to, not be told that she can't. And yeah, you say women should, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's some things I joke about. Women shouldn't take out the trash. It's a man's job. I joke about that all the time, because I don't want to take out the trash. I'm lazy. So I'll be like, yeah, that's a man's job. You take out the trash. I don't want to do it. But I mean, I'll take out the trash, but I just don't want to take out the trash. It's a man's job. You guys take out that nasty, smelly, disgusting trash. Okay, I don't want to smell it. But it's a choice at the end of the day. And with feminism, it's feminists out there today are taking away women's choices. They don't understand that they're actually hurting women more than they're helping, because you're telling us
Yeah.
we can't be on OnlyFans. We can't lend our talents to certain roles. We can't do this because it makes women look bad. Well, it's our choice, right? This is the whole thing about feminism. You wanted us to have more say in what we do with our lives. Now we're having more say, and now you're telling us we can't do it because we're
Well, they're
catering to what
saying that you're
men want.
brainwashed. What they're saying is that women are brainwashed. That women that choose this lifestyle are only see that they've painted in a corner where they say, well, we want you to have more freedom of choice, but the problem is that if you don't choose what we want you to choose, well, that means that you've been brainwashed by the patriarchy for so long, and therefore you don't even know that you're being manipulated and you were programmed to want those things. So it's almost like they're even worse when it comes to, like, just think about how insulting that is to be told that your opinion isn't valid because your opinion is based on years of oppression, and therefore you can't tell the difference between right or wrong because of all the
Right.
oppression that you felt.
Listen, these are the same women who would love probably to have all of their bills paid for by someone else. Doesn't matter if it's a man or anything. You would love if we didn't have it. If you're telling me, Shani, right now, you're telling me if somebody came to you, it was like, Shani, I will pay all your bills. You don't. I'll just pay all your bills. You just stay at home, take care of the house, do the dishes, clean up and stuff. Would you do it?
I'm doing that right now. I'm out of a job, so my wife is the only one working because we're on lockdown. So I kind of have no choice at this point.
Right. Does that make you less of a
Take care of
man?
the bill.
Does that make you less of a man? Does that make you less of a man?
Yeah, it does. Well, not to me, but I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time, because people will, like, I have my father my father will say, I've had people, like my own family, sit around and table, like, even when I was working, like I am working and I was working, they didn't care because I didn't make enough money in their eyes. So they were like, you're not making enough money. You're not supposed, you should be the one who makes the most money. And these were women doing this. These weren't men. The women had a conference around me to tell me that I need to man up and have and make more money than the wife because I'm not making as much as her. Therefore, I'm not. It was the women doing that to me, right? And so yeah, it does make you feel like crap all the time. Yeah, I do get
yeah, and you shouldn't, because here's the thing. Relationships, especially marriages, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
So if one person's working, taking care of the bills, then someday, life happens and the thing, like you said, you're out of a job now. So now it's time for the other person to step up. It's a partnership. You're there together. You raise a family together. You have an agreement, and you stick by it. That's what it is. A relationship and a marriage is a partnership. So what you do in your household, as long as you have a roof over your head, your bills are paid, you're not a garbage human being, it shouldn't be anyone's business how you maintain and how you live your life. That's the problem with social media. And all social media opened up so much negativity, because now everyone wants to chime in on what they feel people should do. They project what they think onto others.
Yes.
What works in your household doesn't work for
that word you just used, projection, that's the problem with that. Is the main issue we have, is all the projection. Everyone having what I feel is how everyone should feel. What I, and how what happened to me, my experience had to have happened to everybody else. And so I'm projecting my emotions, my feelings, my insecurities onto everybody else, and other women and other men and other relationships, and it's not, and instead, and you're right, social media is the problem, because before, yeah, you'd have feminists would be saying weird things, or it was always extremes, right? Always. But what Twitter and what, all these social media things have given everybody a platform to say their mind, and then everybody sort of congregates. The like-minded people congregate, and I think the problem I think what we're dealing with now is not that we've always had these people; they've always been around. But I think the problem is that I think the mainstream world is giving them too much power, listening to them too much. They're loud, they're vocal, but they're in a minority. And we're listening to the loud vocal minority as opposed to looking at what the majority of people are actually thinking and saying, because most people are just okay and content with whatever, but they're so belligerent and angry. And so I think the mainstream of like corporations and stuff, they look at that and they go, well, look, this is a rising storm happening. No, it's not. The storm has always existed. It's just vocal now. You're just seeing
it's just more in your face.
Yeah.
Can I address something in your chat?
Say it again.
I address comments in your chat.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So your Paulo Patriot says, if we date women, will she pull a Me Too? It's a scary world we live in. So everyone's talking about that. Now, here's the thing. Like what we're talking about, feminism, Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, all these movements that have happened, they always start with good intentions, right? The Me Too movement had to happen because there was some very bad things happening to women and men in Hollywood. So that needed to be exposed. Now, the problem lay with all of these movements, when they start with good intentions to fight for something good, you see it works, and people will see that it works. So people will use it and try to make it work for their agenda because they see
Yep.
that something has worked. We canceled all these people in Hollywood. Who else can we cancel now? Oh,
Yeah.
this Henry Cavill made a comment about how he's afraid to date women because of the Me Too movement stuff. He didn't say Me Too exactly, but we all knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
When he said that, he got a lot of backlash. You know why? Let's cancel him now because he said these things. It's a problem because at the end of the day, you're not wrong. It is a scary day for men where men don't want to date women because they're scared. And that's because, and it's not because it's just the Me Too, it's not even like the Me Too movement's fault, right? The Me Too movement had to happen. I'm sorry, guys, it did, because there was a lot
No,
of
you're
bad
right. You're
stuff happening.
100%. You're
Right.
100% on that. And I think
But
most guys understood that going
right,
in.
but
We were like,
now,
yeah, man, keep outing these people because we need to change the disgusting beat. Like, it's funny how like we were also like, what, Harvey Weinstein, the producer, had casting dude. There's a whole fetish in porn called the casting couch, and it's all based on that exact premise of somebody using their
right,
power to manipulate a woman into getting naked. That's exactly what that whole porn fetish is. So we thought that's not really happening in the real world. Of course it is.
of course
And
it's,
for
I
anyone
mean,
to think that wasn't is ridiculous.
right,
But yeah, I
exactly. And it's
agree.
still happening. It's still happening. That's
Sure.
the crazy part. It's still happening. But we did get a few people out, but it is scary for men because I've seen it. It's scary because there are some very nasty, spiteful women out there who will falsely condemn a man for their own agenda.
Amber Heard. Sorry.
Right, but I'm sorry, like I'm not a feminist, and I get offended when somebody calls me a feminist. Like, if you really want to get me mad and really want to insult me, I've had people say so many messed up stuff to me and I laugh it off because I don't really care about I get offended and triggered when people call me a feminist because I'm like, I am the exact opposite. I am what a true feminist would stand for, which is equality. I'm the type of person, and I say this, and guys get a little like weird when I say this, but it's true. If I am going to physically hit a man, right? I strike first. I think a man has all his rights to defend himself. But that's just,
Yeah.
but when you say that, it's like, no, because like you said earlier, men are stronger than women. But here's the thing: no one should ever hit anyone point blank. If you're gonna get into a fight, expect to get hit. That's common sense. Why should I feel like I can't get hit but because you're a guy? If I hit you first, you have all rights to defend yourself and hit me back. If I think I'm tough enough to take on a man in the first place, then I'm sorry. That's what it's called, cause and effect, people. Like, it's different. There's a difference though. There's a difference between domestic abuse, and that's my biggest issue and why I'm getting a little mad, because I hear this argument all the time. There's domestic abuse when you're actually being abused. That is wrong. That's not what I'm talking about. But women can be abusive to men too. Just because a man can take a few hits doesn't mean you should still hit him, because what you're doing is you're not physically hurting him, but you're mentally hurting him.
Yep. Yep.
And
And
they
the
don't
fact
see
is
that.
that he's alone more than women are. See, women will have institutions that they can run to help them, but there is nothing for a guy. If a guy is abused and a guy feels abused and he feels and he's in a stuck situation, like
He's laughed at.
he has nowhere to go. There's nowhere for him to run to like he tells his friends will laugh at him. If he tells his job or his boss, they're not taking it seriously. And even if he could, like, what is he supposed to do? Run and go to his parents' house if he feels abused? And if he does, and he can't even retaliate, because if he retaliates, the cop, like, I remember a cop saying to someone once that they would rather, if a woman punches you and broke a nail on your face, you'll get arrested. That's what a cop said. It's like, you will get arrested if a woman breaks a nail on your face.
Right.
It's so a guy can't even retaliate. He has to sit there and take it, and that's, I mean, it's an unfair situation. But there's, like I said, there's things going both directions, right? There are still abusive men. There are still abusive guys that really abuse women in both directions, psychologically, physically. And there are definitely, trust me, my whole family, I've seen so much abusive women in my family and in friends. I've seen it, happen, many times over. So I know that definitely happens. And a lot of times guys really can't do anything about it. and society isn't designed to help men in that regard.
It's
And
not.
then
It's not because you're supposed to be stronger than that. You're supposed to be able to take it. It's like, but again, if a woman hits you, they're not. They might not hurt you physically, but they're 100% hurting you mentally, and that's the thing that people don't get. Like, oh well, if a woman hits a guy, he should be able to take it. It's not that he can't take the physical hit. That's not the issue. I don't think people understand that. A man can take a physical hit from a woman, but it does mental damage to them. It messes with their head. It makes them upset. It hurts them mentally, especially if you're staying in that relationship and a woman's constantly like, sorry, women can abuse men, just not in a maybe not in a physical manner, but it's mostly mental.
yeah, a lot of it is psychological. I knew women. I knew women who would sabotage their condoms.
I know
so,
that too.
so
Trust
that
me,
so
I know
that
that.
you know, so that they can have kid, and then force the husband, and to trap him, just to trap the guy into a committed relationship,
Yeah,
right? These are forms of manipulation and abuse that is not known or seen. And yeah, I mean, it's the thing is that I think there is an understanding that we both need to. I think the discussion. I think that's what we need more, is an actual open dialogue about this stuff, and that's where I think this new generation of tit for tat animosity, anger, it's like it gets shut down. It's like either I'm a victim or nobody's, like you can't both be victims. Only one person can be a victim, but both cannot be a victim, right? And
right,
so we can live in a world where there's two types, where two people can be victims at the same exact time, and for different reasons. But everyone's so, it's like this clout, this money, or not clout, but this clout of being a victim in our generation. And we have to be victimized, and I have to see myself as a victim, and that's almost gives me financial currency in this world, right? Like you said, the Me Too movement, it became a currency to be a victim in that. Like it was meant for good. It was meant to weed out the evil within the system that was the Hollywood, and what was going on and still going on. Goes on to little boys, and we can't talk, little girls. The pedophile stuff going on in Hollywood is ridiculous. I really wish someone would address that, but they really don't. But
right.
no one
Thank
talks
you.
about. Yeah, I mean, that's disgusting. Like, poor Corey Feldman's been out talking about him being abused since a child, and they just laugh him off. Like, dude, the
Right.
guy.
There's a
He's
YouTube
not like.
channel called Sloan with a 4, SLO4N, and I started watching him, and he has been actively calling out. He started with Nickelodeon, calling them out for their stuff. Going on to Disney because there's a tie there, with Nickelodeon members who've been basically convicted for some bad things with children, and then
Yeah,
Disney hired him, and then he's been going after the stuff that's going on with Britney Spears and her conservatorship, as well as Amanda Bynes and her conservatorship. Like, there are
yeah,
people out there who are exposing it, and don't get me wrong, Sloan has a lot of followers. Like, he's getting there as a big channel, but more people need to talk about it, because I was talking about the same thing with certain people. Like, we're all fighting sometimes for the wrong things. you know I don't support Disney because of the stuff that they do. Like, yeah, once I start realizing, like, I really don't want to support them. That's why I won't watch, I won't get Disney Plus, things like that. But yeah, we have to start
mhm,
talking about it more and having these conversations, because that's the problem. People are so, and I used to be that way. I was so set on my opinion was right and everyone was wrong. I wasn't having a conversation. I just wanted to be heard. So when I stopped
yeah,
and listened to other people, I'm like, now we can get somewhere. Now we can make progress, because we can even have a little bit of difference of opinion. As long as our common goal is good, then we should start doing that. That's the problem with, especially with men and women. We're not having discussions anymore. We're having arguments. I don't want to
yeah.
have to
We're
have an
shouting
argument
at
with a
each other.
man that's not my husband. I can't put you on the couch tonight.
It's well, it's true. Like, we don't engage in discussion. It's all just shouting matches, and and the problem is too with social media, because everyone exists in their own social bubble too, right? So it's like the people I speak to are I just want to hear my own opinion regurgitated back at me. I don't want to actually have an open dialogue about it. I would love to have an actual hardcore feminist come on and have a conversation with me, so that we can, actually engage in an actual open dialogue, and maybe you can convince me of some stuff, and I'll hopefully can convince you of some stuff. But it's not. They don't want to be convinced of anything, because they're pretty much set on their ways. I know I'm right, and I don't want to have anyone tell me I'm wrong. And if you have this, if you tell me I'm wrong, well then I'm going to shut down. I'm going to shut down, and this conversation is over, and move along. And
Right.
it again, I think there is again, it comes down to a lot too. Like I said, the victim mentality becoming a currency in this day and age, where you have so many people, just existing and choosing to exist in that state, because that state is safe. That state makes them, heroes to a degree, and that state also makes them into like, I'm popular. I feel like I belong. And again, even labels, like you said, I don't like to be called a feminist. I don't like to be called anything. I hate labels, period. Everyone says, are you a lefty or a righty? What do you mean? How I masturbate? What are you talking about? I don't care. I have a mind, and it goes in different directions. I don't have to think. My brain thinks both directions. So I don't need to be pin-tailed to, are you this, are you that? Because I think too, once we start labeling ourselves, which they love to do now, label who you are, you now have to live up to that label and become, and that's like tribal mentality takes over. Now I am this label. This label is me, and so I'm tribal towards this label. Hey man, and now you can't even break out of that label you created for yourself. I'm an
Right.
SJW, a social justice warrior. I'm not just into social justice issues. I'm a warrior. I'm going to battle with my knives.
Please make a video being like a superhero called SJW. That would be hilarious, because I feel like you would make that the funniest thing. Just, I'm an SJW.
SJW here. Social justice warrior. And how are you? Well, I did do the Cape Crusader. Did you watch the Cape Crusader video? I did do that one where it was like, sorry, not the Cape Crusader, the Cancel Crusaders. They were the superheroes. Cancel Crusaders. They're out to cancel everybody, and they're the superheroes.
I 100% want to get in on a video being the social justice warrior superhero. Hi, I'm the social justice warrior.
Social justice warrior. Hello there, I'm SJW man. But
yeah,
anyway,
no, you're right.
It was really amazing having you here, because like now I think we're running. What are we? 2 hours in? No, 1 hour and a half.
Almost 2 hours. Yeah.
So it was great. It was a great conversation. Would you like to do this again sometime?
Oh, of course. No, I love having these conversations, because they're very educational on both ends, and I just love having discussions with people on these things. So yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, I do too. I think we need more of these discussions, and more people of different types of different, I hated Star Wars, but you liked Star Wars, so then we still had a decent conversation.
Right. I mean,
we didn't fight and throw things at each other.
Right. Well, that's because I'm also not like a hardcore fan. So like when you say something, I'm just sitting there like, we could talk about it, but I'm not gonna like argue with you, because it's Star Wars. I don't care that much. I'm more into like.
That's true. It's also not worth getting angry about it.
Right. It's like, oh my god, you disagree. You think Kylo Ren was this. Oh,
you liked Kylo Ren's nipples? What's wrong with you?
right.
Them's fighting words. Anyway, so tell us about your channel. Plug something you want to plug. Let everybody know what's going on with you, Saggy.
Well, you could find me obviously at Saggy Melonz with the Z. For the love of God, I have to stress this, because I didn't realize this when I made the name. If you type Saggy Melonz with an S on YouTube, apparently it does bring you to channels of actual Saggy Melonz, and I don't wish you guys go see that. That wasn't even my intention. I didn't realize it till afterwards, but it makes it even more funny. It makes it even more funny. But yes, Saggy Melonz with the Z. Please do not type the S, for the love. I mean, you could if you want to find a new kink you're into, sure. But
Z for Saggy Melonz.
Yes, Z for Saggy Melonz. And yeah, I just do content like this, talk about things that I'm passionate about. Sometimes gaming stuff. I have a Twitch where I do most of my gaming content on, and Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, man. And guys, go check her out. If you go watch her stuff, go support her. Go check out her. Also, you do stuff with Snowdub on the weekends. Do you do that regularly, or I didn't see you the last time?
Yeah, every Saturday I do it. If I'm feeling sick, which isn't very often, but for the most part, every Saturday, usually pretty late if you're Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, I do stuff over on the Snow Dubs channel.
All right, guys. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for appreciate the people that's in the chat. I had Apollo Patriot. I had Brian Sink, Dawn of Comics. I know that you guys probably wanted me to engage you guys a lot, but for some reason I liked our conversation and I kind of wanted to keep it rolling. And I find when we break down to like, when I tried, so usually I do engage the comments more often, but because I think you and I were having such a good conversation, I felt like that was important, so I just kept that going. And I did put them on the chat. So if you guys are upset because I didn't engage as much as I usually do, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. I'll get better. I'll get better, I promise. Anyway, come check out my channel, Shaney Entertaining. Also, Shaney at Shaneology. That was my old channel. I am going to be also posting, hopefully next week, another toy commercial kitty video that you like, that style. Where I'll be taking a stab at YouTube because YouTube has been annoying me. So they're on my hit list. So that's my next one. But yeah, I do have one coming up about Captain Mary Sue. I think I will have a commercial on that one.
Nice.
By the way, I hate my hair. I keep doing this. I used to make fun of guys who used to do this.
I like it. I like it. I like you do a hair flip.
Yeah, I know. I feel like Ashton Kutcher. Like, what's going on?
There you go. See, guys. now you know women's struggle. There you go. You got one closer to dealing with female problems.
Now I'm gonna lactate.
You start lactating. We're gonna have to make you an OnlyFans.
I put the tampon in the wrong spot. Anyway, guys. All right, guys. See you guys later. Till next time. See you later. Bye.